Factoring trinomials when a equals 1. Okay, so we're getting into more factoring, but this time it is a trinomial. The word tri means we have three. We have three terms that are being added or subtracted together. In our three terms, it is always going to be an ax squared plus bx plus c. A is the coefficient of x squared, what's being multiplied by x squared. B is the coefficient of x. And c is the constant. It doesn't have an x, so it's a constant. Now, in the ones we're doing today, a, which is that term, is always going to equal a 1. We will get into when a doesn't equal 1 later. But first, let's just make sure we can identify what exactly is a, b, and c in a trinomial. So in this first one, we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. So a is the coefficient of x squared, so that's a 2. B is the coefficient of x, so that's a negative 3. Notice that it is a negative. That negative belongs to the 3, so it goes with it. And the constant at the end is a 5. If we look at the next one, x squared's coefficient, there isn't one, so it is a 1. The coefficient of x is a 6, that's b, and the constant by itself is c, which is a 7. Now today's answers are going to look something like this, x plus 4 times x plus 3. We're going to go backwards really quickly. If hopefully you remember some distributing, so I'm going to do some super distributing. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x, so I've just multiplied x by everything in the other set of parentheses. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 4. 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 3 is 12. If I combine like terms, I get x squared plus 3 plus 4 is 7x plus 12. We'll come back to that in just a second. Let's do one more. X minus 7 times x plus 4. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. So I multiplied everything by x in the other side of the parentheses. Now I'm going to do the same thing with negative 7. That 7 is negative. Make sure you multiply everything by negative 7. Negative 7 times x is a negative 7x, and negative 7 times 4 is negative 28. If you combine like terms, we get an x squared minus 3x minus 28. Now what I want you to notice is that in these problems, like this first one we had a 3 and a 4. So like our key numbers are going to be a 3 and a 4. Well, what do you notice about 3 and 4 in terms of 7 and 12? Well, 3 plus 4 is 7, and 3 times 4 is 12. Let's see if that pattern holds for the other one we just did. So our key numbers here were negative 7 and 4. If we add them, do we get negative 3? Is negative 7 plus 4 negative 3? Yes. If we multiply them, do we get negative 28? Is negative 7 times 4 negative 28? Yes, it is. This is the pattern we're going to be looking for in these problems. So on your factoring flowchart, the part that we're going to be dealing with today is this part right here, traditionally called a diamond problem, which you might have heard of before. So this is when the coefficient of x squared is a 1. So you'll notice it just says x squared because we're not going to have a number in front of x squared. So when you're doing these problems, the constant goes on top of this diamond. So I know it looks just like an x, but ideally you would actually draw the entire diamond, but you know, we get to be lazy. We don't have to draw the entire diamond. So we're going to just draw the x, the middle part of the diamond, if you will. The constant goes on the top, and the coefficient of x goes on the bottom. Now up here it says the product and the sum. So the product is the two numbers that multiply to the coefficient, and sum means add to the constant and add to the coefficient of x. Well, what did we have up here? We had an answer of negative 4 and 7, where the product was the constant and the sum was the coefficient of x. That's exactly what we're doing, but in terms of a diamond problem. So we're going backwards now, because what we're going to have this time is the trinomial, and we're trying to figure out what was multiplied to get that. So we're going backwards. So let's see if we can figure this one out. We have x squared plus 7x plus 10. So we have a trinomial. The coefficient of x squared is a 1. This is going to be a diamond problem. Again, technically it's a diamond, but we don't want to always draw it. If we look again back at our factoring flow chart, it says that the constant is supposed to go on the top. So the constant is 10, so I'm going to put that at the top. B, which is the coefficient of x, goes on the bottom, B on the bottom, so that's a 7. The product is the 10, the sum is the 7. So I need to figure out what two numbers multiply to 10 while at the same time adding to 7. That is 5 and 2. So this part's kind of like a number puzzle. What two numbers multiply to 10 and add to 7? 5 and 2. So that means that what was multiplied was x plus 5 and x plus 2. So the 5 and the 2 were like the key numbers that we found, so those go in the binomial. If you look back again at your factoring flow chart, your two answers, which I have little pictures of stars, go in two sets of parentheses, binomials, two sets of parentheses with an x plus or minus whatever number we had first, and x plus or minus the other number. So that is our factored answer. So x squared plus 7x plus 10 factored is x plus 5 times x plus 2. Let's try another one. X squared minus 7x plus 12. We have three terms. The coefficient of x squared is a 1. I need to figure out two numbers that multiply to 12 while adding to negative 7. Now we need to be careful with our negatives. Now, if it multiplies to a positive, it's either they're both positive or they're both negative. But since it adds to a negative 7, that must mean that they're both negative numbers. So what multiplies to 12? 6 and 2. Negative 6 plus negative 2 is not negative 7, so that doesn't work. 4 and 3. Negative 4 and negative 3 multiply to add to negative 7 while also multiplying to 12. So I'm going to put my answers that I just found in the binomials with x's. So that's a negative 4 and a negative 3. So notice that my negatives followed through. So we have x minus 4 times x minus 3. Okay, let's try one more. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 15 while adding to negative 2. Now this problem, the product multiplies to a negative, which means one of my numbers is positive and one of them's negative. Now if those two numbers add to a negative, it means that my negative number is the larger of the two numbers. Okay, so what two numbers multiply to 15? 3 and 5. So if my negative needs to be like the larger of them, my negative must be the 5 and my positive the 3, because that's how they can add to negative 2. So for my factored answer, we have my x's, and I found a positive 3 and a negative 5. So x squared minus 2x minus 15 factors to x plus 3 times x minus 5.